The vehicle for any narration is the characters that inhabit the world and how they react to their circumstances. A story is important, but we as an audience want to know who the story centers around. We want to connect with the characters, watch them tackle the unfolding events, and settle into their conclusions. Characters help us relate to the world we've been invited into, but in regards to animation, the character is fully designed and realized by hand. Now, because an animator has complete control of every aspect of their work, they can alter the character to their own intentions. Today I'd like to comment on how artists design characters to help us link their visual design to the character's core personality. Well, specifically, how Pete Docter does it. The design of a character will of course depend on the setting of the animation. Are they Vikings raiding the land of saints and scholars, humans trying to carve out an existence on a hostile planet, or even anthropomorphic animals dancing in a barn? Considering setting and the theme of the story will start to build the characters in the animator's head. But of course there is more to designing a character than just where they're located. If we look at a list of essential considerations when designing a character, points such as thinking about who it's aimed at and ensuring to use exaggerated characteristics cross every list. But more recently, these tips include acknowledging that your character will be a brand ambassador. They highlight the idea that your character will become the face of your product, and because of this it needs to be a striking, marketable design. It's no surprise most of the biggest animation studios have a mascot that promote their work, and a lot of these are very recognizable, well-designed characters. But to me, starting to design a character based on how marketable they will be withdraws from the character itself. I think it rescinds the ultimate joy in not only creating a character,
No, he was supposed to have attitude.
but also it narrows the artistic lens in regards to how you want your creation to appear visually rather than just appeal to a market.
Can we put him in more of a hip-hop context?
As you control all aspects of your world, a key consideration is that the character's personality should come across in their aesthetic.
I think he needs a little more attitude.
Oh yeah, bingo. There it is, right there. That's it.
I love it.
But how do you translate that visually? Well, let's take a square. Even looking at it, feelings of stability, strength and trust emulate from this basic shape. We can see it used in creating a variety of strong characters. Similarly, a circle elicits a softer approach and can give a friendlier, softer character. There's a warmth and a happiness in these designs. Finally, a triangle, which at first might not appear to throw out any specific feelings until you consider them within character design. We sense the intensity, the danger, how sharp and speedy they appear. These primary shapes and how we interpret them via their recognizable signifiers is known as shape language. We are subconsciously aware of these feelings from just looking at the shapes alone, and it can be a powerful tool in how you translate personality traits to an audience.
Like, if you only took one thing away from design school, I think it would be the word contrast. That's what makes things read, that's what makes things interesting.
To me, this is where Pete Docter shines. He recognizes the importance of contrast not only in their personality, but how that can be explored visually. In Monsters Inc., Sully is strong, trustworthy and friendly, but also the top scarer in the business. Mike is his friendly, outspoken sidekick, quite literally a goofball. If we take a closer look at Sully, he is a pillar of strength and morals, but when he's at work his triangular claws and fangs come out, adding a sharpness and danger to his hulking size. Mike initially battled against his inability to scare effectively. He was considered not just scary due to his size and shape.
Stop. Thank you. But I've seen enough.
Now I know this is in Monsters University, but the attributes of Mike's characters were created in its predecessor. Later, he resigns himself to being a comedian. Nothing in his character design appears threatening. Even his horns are rounded.
Of course, I was the ball, but I was the ball. See, Alright.
We can readily recognize the characters via their silhouettes, but also the signifiers built into the primary shapes the characters are derived from automatically denote a dichotomy in their personalities. Similarly, looking it up, Carl and Ellie are built from these primary shapes.
Okay, Ellie was very rounded shapes. And so a lot of things associated with her are these circles. Carl is more square. And so even in that very shot you just mentioned, pictures of Carl will be in square frames, pictures of Ellie are in circular frames. If there's a picture of the two of them, it'll be like a mat that's circular with the square frame or something like that, just trying to blend those shapes and use those to hopefully subtly plug the story.
We can see the sentiment permeates the entire film, but also with Up It they explore different shape combinations with Russell, Doug and Kevin. Each character is clearly defined and again can be recognized from their silhouette. It's interesting that the primary shapes are still used to elicit contrast in both Carl and Ellie, but the rounded shapes of Russell and Doug harken to their soft characterizations. Both feel safe and familiar.
I have just met you, and I love you.
Whereas Kevin has a quick intensity to her, while remaining aloof. These personalities are clearly defined down to their core geometry, right from the beginning. Now, similar to Up, we can take this further exploration of not only primary shapes, but also how we personally interpret additional shapes and what emotions they may elicit.
And we have joy, who's kind of an explosion or a star. We have anger, who's just like a brick, a square. Sadness is an upside-down teardrop. Disgust was actually based on a stalk of broccoli. And then fear was this raw nerve, you know. So from here, you can generate any number of the characters. You can kind of flesh them out.
Docter found a core geometry to explore each emotion and how they're expressed in clear shapes to help us subconsciously understand the characterizations of these complex emotions. He even draws attention to the character design process when Sadness, Joy and Bing Bong stumble into the abstract thought chamber, and through their literal deconstruction they reduce down to their two-dimensional origins.
This is the last stage! We're not gonna make it!
Inside Out is also interesting, as upon closer examination of the characters, their final rendering is made up of countless orbs rather than pixels and polygons. Like the spheres that contain the memories they witness and protect, the emotions too could be constructed of these raw feelings.
Unlike live action where you have a location and somebody happened to walk by, or this lamp is great, it just happens to be, nothing is for free, nothing is for accident. You have a blank screen. And so everything you see goes through a very intentional design process, both shape, surface, lighting, all of that stuff. And so to a fault, we can control everything.
Telling a story for him is discussed through the characters, and he sets them as distinguished through the exploration of geometry to aid his storytelling. From the primary shapes included and developed in his work, we take a clear understanding from the language signified in their shapes, and we immediately understand the nature of a character visually.
Like a dog. Oh!
So, when designing a character, think beyond the market potential and create interesting characters that exploit these subconscious signifiers to help you tell your story. The core personality of your character can be instantly recognizable when using these methods. So rather than just drawing a character, think about who they are, who you want them to be, and build that into their design. A circle and a square can go a long way.
No.